87% of your financial decisions are not yours. They're his. Your father's. Your mother's. Whoever held your hand when you were 6 years old and heard for the first time the words, "We don't have money for that." And in the next 20 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to identify these invisible patterns that are sabotaging your bank account right now, and how to break this cycle today. I know what you're thinking. But I'm different from my parents. I studied. I have access to information they didn't have. And you're right, consciously. The problem is that money isn't processed by the conscious part of your brain. 90% of your financial reactions come from your limbic system, the primitive part that was programmed before age 7. So it doesn't matter how many personal finance books you've read. If you don't deprogram what was installed first, you'll keep self-sabotaging. First, I'm going to show you what money scripts are and how they control decisions you think are rational. Then, we'll break down the 5 most destructive cross-generational financial patterns, the ones that pass from father to son like a silent virus. And at the end, I'll give you a 3-step protocol to start rewriting these scripts today. But there's a plot twist at the end that will completely change how you see your parents' relationship with money. Let me tell you about Mariana. 32 years old, architect, good income. She came to me because she couldn't understand why every time her bank balance exceeded 15,000 reals, she created an emergency. A car repair that could wait. An unmissable trip. An unnecessary apartment renovation. It was like money burned in her account. In the second session, Mariana remembered something. She was 9 years old when her father, who was a truck driver, finally managed to save enough money to buy his own truck. 15,000 reals back then. A week before the purchase, the truck he was driving broke down on a road, he went without work for 2 months, and all the money went to the repair and survival. Mariana saw her mother crying in the kitchen. She saw her father silent, defeated. And there, at age 9, her brain created an equation: accumulated money equals imminent loss. That's a money script. An invisible code that runs in your subconscious and determines financial behaviors that seem irrational when you look from the outside. But they make perfect sense when you understand the original trauma that created them. Now think with me, how many times have you made a financial decision and then thought, "Why did I do that?" Hold that feeling. Because what I'm about to show you will explain exactly where this automatic self-sabotage comes from. There are 5 main money scripts that are transmitted from generation to generation. And the scariest part is that you don't even need to have heard these beliefs verbalized. They're absorbed through observation, the emotional climate of the house, the silences. The first is money avoidance, the avoidance of money. If your father or mother had a relationship of shame with money, if they treated wealth as bad people, or if they kept repeating that money doesn't bring happiness always in a tone of resentment, you absorbed the belief that money is morally contaminated. Result? You unconsciously sabotage opportunities to earn more because deep down, you associate wealth with moral failure. A study from Kansas State University with over 2,000 participants showed that people with money avoidance script earn on average 43% less over their lifetime, not for lack of ability, but because they unconsciously avoid salary negotiations, entrepreneurship, or investing. The second pattern is money worship, treating money as a magical solution. If you grew up hearing, "When I have money, everything will be solved," or "This family's problem is lack of money," you developed the belief that money is the cure for all problems. The danger? You pursue money compulsively, sacrificing relationships, health, ethics, and when you finally get it, you discover that emotional problems are still there. Because money was never the real problem. Third, money status, using money as external validation. Parents who showed off, or who measured their own worth by the car they drove, created children who use money to fill the void of low self-esteem. You buy the expensive bag not because you like it, but because you need to prove something. And this creates a vicious cycle: the emptier you feel, the more you spend trying to fill that void, and the more indebted and empty you become. The fourth pattern, money vigilance, financial hypervigilance. If your parents went through real scarcity, hunger, traumatic loss, you may have developed a relationship of paranoia with money. You can never relax. You can never enjoy. Always expecting tragedy. This is the script that creates miserable millionaires, people who have money but live in permanent survival mode. And the fifth, perhaps the most treacherous, loyalty script, unconscious loyalty to the family pattern. This happens when improving financially feels like a betrayal. If your family was always poor, becoming rich can feel like you're separating from the tribe, abandoning your roots. So you sabotage. You compulsively give money to family. You create debt to help everyone. Because unconsciously, prosperity means exclusion. And here's where it gets really interesting. Because these scripts don't exist in isolation. They combine. You can have money worship with loyalty script, adorning money but sabotaging every time you get it because you feel guilty. Or money avoidance with money status, where you reject wealth but go into debt to look successful. It's an internal war you don't even know you're fighting. But before I show you how to get out of this, you need to understand the most important concept of all. And it goes against everything you've learned about willpower. Your brain doesn't want you to change. Seriously. Neurobiologically speaking, repeating patterns, even destructive ones, is energetically more efficient than creating new ones. This is called negative neuroplasticity, the brain's tendency to reinforce existing neural pathways. When you were a child and saw your father reacting a certain way to money, your mirror neurons replicated that reaction. Literally. If he panicked when a bill arrived, your neurons fired the same panic sequence. If she shopped compulsively when sad, you recorded, sadness equals consumption equals temporary relief. These connections were reinforced thousands of times throughout childhood. They became an 8-lane neural highway. Meanwhile, new, healthier behaviors are a path in closed forest. Your brain naturally takes the highway. Not because you're weak. Because it's basic neurobiology. A study from Duke University discovered that 45% of the decisions you make daily are not decisions. They're automatic habits. And when it comes to money, that number goes up to 70%. 70% of your financial choices are on autopilot programmed in childhood. That's why reading more about finances doesn't fix it. Because you're feeding the prefrontal cortex, the conscious part. But who's in control when you see a promotion, when you get a bonus, when desperation hits in the middle of the night, is the limbic system. And that guy doesn't read books. He only responds to repeated emotional experience. Let me give you a disturbing example. A longitudinal study followed lottery winners for 15 years. Know how many returned to their previous financial pattern within 5 years? 78%. And not because they spent everything irresponsibly. But because they unconsciously recreated the financial reality that was familiar. Some donated everything. Others made self-sabotaging investments. The brain sought the known equilibrium. Now, I'm not telling you this so you give up. I'm telling you because you need to stop fighting the symptom and start treating the root. And the root is in a memory. An emotion frozen in time. A belief formed by a child's brain trying to make sense of an adult world they didn't understand. And this is where most finance channels stop. Because it's uncomfortable. It's deep. It doesn't sell as well as, how to make $10K a month. But if you really want to change, you need to go there. There are 3 moments in your life where these money scripts become completely visible. They're the activation triggers. And if you observe your reaction in these 3 moments, you'll see the script running in real time. Trigger number 1, financial accumulation. When your money increases significantly, how do you react? Mariana spent compulsively. Other people enter paranoia, expecting loss. Others feel guilty and distribute to family. Your script is programmed to keep you at a specific financial level. Exceeding that level triggers the internal alarm system. I worked with an entrepreneur who sabotaged his own business every time revenue exceeded $50,000 per month. He created conflicts with partners, made impulsive decisions, started parallel projects that drained resources. In therapy, we discovered, $50,000 was exactly the salary his father, who was an executive, earned when he was fired and fell into depression. In his unconscious mind, exceeding $50,000 meant, I'm vulnerable to the same fall. Trigger number 2, financial loss. How do you react when you lose money? Do you panic disproportionately? Do you get paralyzed? Or do you act compulsively trying to recover? Your reaction to loss was shaped by the first major financial loss you witnessed in the family. If it was treated as an unrecoverable catastrophe, you replicate the panic. If it was treated with denial, you ignore danger signals until it's too late. Third trigger, and this is the most revealing, receiving unexpected money. Inheritance, bonus, selling something. How do you react? Do you feel guilty? Fear that people will judge you? Immediate urge to spend? Need to hide it? These reactions reveal your deepest beliefs about deserving. If you don't feel worthy of abundance, your brain will create ways to eliminate the discomfort. And the fastest way is to make the money disappear. So stop. Think now. Which of these 3 triggers activated you the most? Where do you recognize your pattern? Because that's exactly where the work needs to begin. But there's something you need to do before trying to change any behavior. And it's something nobody talks about because it's not sexy, it's not fast, and it requires you to feel uncomfortable things. 3-step reprogramming protocol for money scripts. 3 steps. And I need you to understand, this isn't magic. It's not a technique you do once and you're done. It's a neuroplasticity process that requires conscious repetition for at least 60 days. But it works. And it's scientifically validated. Step 1, emotional mapping of origins. You need to identify the root memory. This isn't about blaming your parents. It's about locating the moment when the belief was formed. Get a notebook. Write at the top, my first memory involving money and strong emotion. It could be fear, shame, envy, desperation. Describe the scene. How old were you? What was said? What did you feel? And here's the most important part, what did you decide at that moment about money? It wasn't a conscious decision. It was an automatic conclusion of your child's brain. Money causes fights. Talking about money is embarrassing. Rich people are bad. I'll never have enough. Money makes me lose love. Identify that decision. Write it down. Because that's the source code of your money script. Step 2, pattern interruption in real time. Now that you know the script, you need to catch it running. And here enters a specific technique called compassionate observer. Every time you make a financial decision, any decision, from buying coffee to refusing a raise, you stop for 5 seconds and ask, is this decision mine or my script's? If you notice it's the script, you don't fight, don't judge, don't try to force immediate change. You just recognize, oh, there it is. My money avoidance is making me avoid negotiating my salary. Or, my money status is pushing me to buy this shirt I don't need. Real-time awareness is 50% of the change. Because it interrupts automatism. A Harvard study showed that simply naming the emotion driving the behavior reduces by 62% the chance you'll act compulsively. Naming creates distance. Distance creates choice. Step 3, installation of alternative response. This is where you build the new path in the forest. You can't simply stop doing the old behavior, because you'll create a vacuum and your brain will go back to the known pattern. You need to give a specific, simple and repeatable alternative response. If your script is to spend when anxious, the alternative response can't be, I won't spend anymore. It has to be, when I feel the urge to spend from anxiety, I'll write the purchase on a 48-hour waiting list and do 5 minutes of diaphragmatic breathing. Simple. Specific. Executable even under stress. If your script is avoiding looking at your bank account, the alternative response is, every Sunday at 10 a.m., I'll open the account, note the balance in a notebook, and give myself verbal recognition. I looked. I survived. I'm in control. You reprogram through your body, through repeated physical action, not just mental intention. And here's the secret nobody talks about: in the first 30 days, it'll seem like it's not working. Because you'll still activate the old script 70% of the time. But every time you interrupt, every time you choose the alternative response, you're laying a brick on the new path. By day 60, you'll notice you don't need to think as much. The new path started becoming a road. Now, the plot twist I promised. After years of working with people with dysfunctional money scripts, I discovered something that completely changed my approach. In most cases, when you dig deep into the root memory, you discover your parents weren't being irresponsible or ignorant. They were repeating their script. Which came from their parents. Which came from their parents' parents. Your grandfather who never spent anything? He grew up in the Great Depression, or in a dictatorship, or in extreme poverty. His hypervigilance saved his family's life. But it became a dysfunctional script in the next generation, which grew up in a different context. Your mother who spent compulsively? She grew up with a stingy father who used money as control. Spending was the only act of rebellion and autonomy she had. So when you do this reprogramming work, you're not just changing your life. You're breaking a cross-generational cycle. You're preventing your children, or nieces and nephews, or people around you from absorbing a script that no longer belongs to their reality. You become the breaking point. And that's a silent revolution. So recapping in one sentence, your financial decisions are echoes of emotional memories that aren't yours, but you can rewrite them through repeated awareness, compassionate interruption, and creation of alternative responses. If this video made you recognize a pattern, if something clicked, leave a comment with the money script you identified in yourself. You don't need to tell the whole story, just name it: I have money avoidance, or I'm loyalty script. Because naming in community is powerful. And if you want to continue this psychological dive into money, I made a video on why you buy things you don't need, which is basically the neurobiological version of this. It's in the card. And look, this channel won't teach you where to invest or how to budget. Here we unearth the psychological roots that make you sabotage any financial strategy. If that's what you're looking for, subscribe. Because we're just getting started. Your relationship with money is, at its core, your relationship with yourself. Treat it with compassion.